Rome didn't rise on courage, discipline, or destiny. Rome rose on money and the one force every empire eventually bends to. Debt. We picture Roman legions as flawless warriors, marching with iron discipline and unshakable glory. But behind every glimmering helmet and every perfectly sharpened sword was a truth Rome rarely advertised, a war machine so expensive, so hungry, so endlessly demanding, that it needed a financial system powerful enough to feed it. Tens of thousands of soldiers needed constant supplies, food, armor, roads, fortresses, siege, engines, horses, and every inch of it devoured money. Like fire devours oxygen, Rome wasn't just building armies. Rome was building an economic furnace, and once it ignited, it could never stop burning. So the question isn't just, how did Rome conquer the world? The real question is, how did Rome pay for it? And why does that answer feel uncomfortably familiar today? Let's go back. In the early republic, war was simple. A citizen army. Landowners drafted. Men brought their own weapons, fought their war, and went home to their farms. But wars got longer, harder, farther. The old system cracked under the weight of empire. Rome needed soldiers who didn't go home. Rome needed professionals. And professionals need paychecks. That's when the financial gears started turning. The state began paying soldiers small amounts, but enough to bind loyalty. And then Rome stumbled onto its most profitable discovery. Conquest could pay for itself. Every new province meant new taxes, new slaves, new mines, new streams of gold pouring straight into Rome's treasury. It became a perfect feedback loop. War created wealth. Wealth created armies. Armies created more war. But beneath that perfect loop hid a danger Rome couldn't escape. Rome didn't just use taxes. Rome borrowed, aggressively, ruthlessly, almost carelessly, during massive conflicts like the Punic Wars. The Republic took enormous loans from the wealthy elite to equities, Rome's rising financial powerhouse. And these weren't charitable patriots. These were businessmen. They wanted interest. They wanted tax collection rights. They wanted control over trade in the newly conquered lands. In other words, war became an investment opportunity. And when war becomes profitable, war becomes inevitable. Generals became political superstars because they promised spoils. Senators turned into shareholders of violence. Private contractors, the publicani, took control of logistics, supply chains, and tax collection. They skimmed profits, exploited provinces, and built fortunes under the banner of the Republic. It wasn't just an empire. It was the world's first military-industrial complex wrapped in a toga. But every machine has a cost. And Rome's costs grew faster than Rome's victories. When conquests slowed, when rebellions drained the treasury, Rome turned to its most desperate financial trick: debasement of currency. Starting under Emperor Nero, the silver content in the denarius quietly dropped. Over the next centuries, emperors diluted it again and again, until Rome's proud silver coin became a thin, hollow shadow of what it once was. Inflation exploded. Trust evaporated. And by the 3rd century, Rome's economic foundation was crumbling beneath its own weight. Meanwhile, the elites didn't suffer. They insulated themselves with land, slaves, estates, and offshore wealth. They secured exemptions, inside deals, special privileges. The poor, on the other hand, paid taxes in worthless money. Their labor was demanded. Their sons were drafted. Their livelihoods were crushed under the pressure of an empire addicted to expansion. Rome didn't fall because its enemies grew strong. Rome fell because its money grew weak. Now look at today. Governments spending more than they earn. Wars funded by borrowing. Currencies quietly weakened by policy decisions hidden behind complex terminology. A financial class getting richer from military contracts and crisis opportunities. A global system that needs endless growth, endless expansion, endless consumption just to avoid collapse. The parallel isn't perfect. But the rhyme is loud. Rome teaches a brutal lesson. Any system built on constant expansion will eventually hit its limits. You run out of land, out of resources, out of enemies, but never out of debt. And when the expansion stops, the system turns inward. It squeezes its own people. Taxes rise. Currencies weaken. Control tightens. Distractions multiply. Bread and circuses then. Headlines and fear today. Different language. Same mechanism. Most people don't see it. They think inflation is random. That debt is harmless. That taxes are inevitable. That growth can go on forever. The Stoics had a word for that. Illusion. You can't escape the system. But you can understand it. You can stop playing blind. You can build resilience, not just with wealth, but with awareness. Because the moment you start asking, who benefits when I stay confused? You step out of the illusion. You were never meant to understand how Rome funded its campaigns, or how modern states fund theirs. You were meant to watch the theater, the headlines, the speeches, the spectacles, not the incentives, not the mechanics. But now you see the machinery. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Financial education isn't about budgets and savings. It's about understanding power, understanding systems, understanding the math beneath the empire. So the next time you hear about a new conflict, a new stimulus, a new crisis, don't just listen. Don't just react. Follow the money. Ask who lends. Ask who earns. Ask who pays in the end. Because history is clear. Empires don't collapse when enemies break through the gates. They collapse when the numbers stop working and no one has the courage to fix them. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe. History doesn't repeat, but it warns. And I'll show you exactly where to look.